Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to move on to our next topic, but first, a quick word from FanDuel. The NFL regular season may have wrapped up, but there's still plenty of time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, brand new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed just by placing a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose, for brand new customers. The app is simple to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, including live same-game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explorer tab. You can make a parlay on the Parlay Hub, which is the best and easiest way to find popular parlays, and much, much more. As of this minute, the Browns now 3-point favorites in Houston. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL.
Mike, it's interesting that the line just went to 3 because I looked at the FanDuel line earlier. It was still 2.5. The fact that I was waiting for it to go to 3 because I saw some other sports books that did go to 3, which means it's got to be when you move a point spread from 2.5 to 3, the two biggest moves of a point spread are 2.5 to 3 and 3 to 3.5. So if you move a point spread when a place like FanDuel, where a lot of people bet, when they move a point spread from 2.5 to 3, that means there's got to be heavy money coming in on the Browns.
A lot of people betting on Cleveland. Yep.
Yeah.
And we'll know more about the injury situation for the Browns, and that can change the spread as it goes along. But I wanted to ask you guys this. There have been a bunch of Browns players who have been injured, banged up, missed a few games here over the last couple of weeks. There's 8 I listed. Let's whittle them down in terms of the most important to get back for a deep playoff run down to – we don't have to go all the way down 1 through 8, but – let's start with whoever you think is the most important. And these are the 8 guys who are currently at least listed on the injury report that are key starters. You have Delpit, Thornhill, Amari Cooper, Dustin Hopkins, Ogbo, Tillman, Moore, and Pierre Strong, who injured himself last week. He's more of a key special teams guy than a key cog in the offense. But I think there's a pretty obvious number 1 out of this 8.
I think there's an obvious 1 and an obvious 2.
Well, I don't know that it's obvious because I think Bull and I don't know where G-Bush is, but I think we disagree on who's the most important.
Oh, well, I thought it was Hopkins because I didn't realize he was putting Amari Cooper on the list.
Yeah, with Amari Cooper on there,
he's
to
one.
me,
Amari
he's
Cooper's
one.
one.
Yeah, no doubt.
After Amari, then
Hopkins has got to be 2.
And it's a no-brainer.
Hopkins.
Yeah.
I mean, those are your 2 biggest point scorers.
I think the first debate is at number 3.
Who's number 3 then? Which leaves you
easy.
Delpit, Thornhill, Ogbo, Tillman, Elijah Moore, and Pierre Strong.
I'll
go with Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It was a good case for him. I would argue it's Ogbo because we've talked about it. The special part of the Browns is their defense.
Right.
The
and
offense has
that
been
front
pretty
4.
good.
Yeah.
And Elijah Moore is an okay player, and I know he had a good game before he got hurt. But his biggest game was when Amari Cooper didn't play.
Right.
I mean, I want Elijah Moore back. I don't think he's not important, but I think what makes the Browns special is their defense. What makes their defense special is their ability to cover and their ability to rush the passer.
Right.
And having Ogbo, who's been really good when he's been out there, as their 3rd pass rusher, I think he's huge to have all hands on deck on the outside.
I think it's close. To me,
I think it's close between those two.
I mean, you could go Moore, you could go Ogbo either way. To me, I think they're both pretty important, particularly in this game plan. And it's funny when you hear Cecil talk about what the game's going to come down to. He was pretty quick and definitive on his answer. Can the Browns rattle C.J. Stroud? They're not going to rattle him without their full complement of defensive linemen. They need everybody. They need to bring out all of them. And the strength of this Browns defense is what the strength of the Eagles defense was last year. And that's that you can still have fresh legs in the fourth quarter because you can rotate 6 and 7 guys in and out.
Yeah.
And there's only C.J. Stroud's going to be on the field for every offensive snap.
That's right.
The defensive linemen will be in and out and hopefully more fresh in the fourth quarter.
You know, sometimes you go from, the most important to the least important. It's strange when you get to the back end of it. I don't know about you guys, but Juan Thornhill hasn't played enough to even know what we are missing.
Before we move on real quick, I'm curious, Mike,
I wish we'd seen him more.
Elijah Moore or Ogbo? Or did you have somebody else?
Because of how well Alex Wright has played down the stretch, I would lean towards Elijah Moore in this instance because the drop-off from Ogbo to Wright
that's a good point.
Nowhere near the drop-off from Elijah Moore to
Tillman.
Or Tillman.
All right.
That's a good point.
All right, so if we put those guys, do we agree that Ogbo's 4?
Yeah, I still do. I think it's more, and that's a very
fine.
Articulated very well.
Yeah.
There's somebody that could, if Ogbo can't go, we've got others that can fill his spot. If Elijah Moore can't go, I think that's a big problem for the Browns.
Can I say something real quick before you hop in? It is crazy, and this is a testament to the drafting and roster building of Andrew Berry here, that Grant Delpit, who was one of the best safeties in football, is a Pro Bowler, might be number 5 on this list, and I think you could argue for him to be higher, but
doesn't that speak to the depth at that position too?
Well, who's left? Thornhill,
Delpit, Tillman, and Pierre Strong.
So
Delpit's got to be 5,
You're starting
right?
2 safeties.
I guess those guys would be 5 and 6.
I agree.
I mean, Tillman, I like Strong, but they don't use him in the games that matter.
And I don't never want to say I'm not happy nobody is in, but Tillman, to me, we talk about Joe Flacco, he's had at least 3 interceptions. That's been on Tillman.
Right.
Just not running routes.
Stopping routes.
And
not defending the ball when he could.
Right. That cannot happen in the playoffs. That's why I'd rather have Elijah Moore. At least I know you're going to run the right route.
Right. Yeah.
I just so then it would be Delpit 5, Thornhill 6, Pierre Strong 7, and Tillman 8, I guess.
Yep. That's the way I would.
Yep.
It's crazy we found consensus on something that ranked 8.
It's the first time we've ever agreed on anything.
Well, there's 8 that we could have ranked.
We had a third, fourth debate, but it wasn't
a little
very
bit,
needed.
but I think we settled it. I think Mikey, threw the napalm bomb into the chat, and that.
I'm still sticking with Ogbo over Elijah Moore, but you guys make good points.
You can be either or, but we got to have the receivers.
G, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the Delpit Thornhill drop off to who's been filling in, which McLeod, who then got hurt, you have Hickman, you have Harmon, you have DeAnthony Bell, who's all filled in admirably.
God, there's depth back there.
I don't know, and I'm asking this without any knowledge, and I could be way off, but those are 5 damn good safeties. And in a league where I don't feel like there's a ton of great safeties, the fact that the Browns were able to find 2 – well, Bell wasn't undrafted. Well, but was Bell undrafted last year?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Was he drafted? I thought he was a late draft pick.
Hickman's definitely undrafted.
Hickman's definitely undrafted out of Ohio State.
They signed Thornhill. They extended Delpit. Bell, either late draft pick or undrafted.
Yeah,
I forget exactly. I'll look it up. The fact that they found those 5 guys at the same position group on this roster together, and we lose our 2 starting safeties, and we don't really notice a drop-off.
No.
I know.
It's kind of crazy just in hindsight to think about how many injuries this has had, and that's not an issue of need.
And what's even more crazy is how you could be so good at one position, and as good as they are at defensive backs, they're that bad at wide receivers, at projecting talent and drafting. Because they've drafted no wide receivers that are life-changing. No matter where they take them. They just can't hit on that position, and that's a critical.
Bell was undrafted.
Yeah, I mean, wide receivers been their Achilles heel. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
Yeah.
And that's the area they need to fix. But overall, most other positions they've drafted well.
Thankfully, they nailed that position in free agency with Amari Cooper.
Well, trade.
Or trade. I'm sorry. You can if you look at acquisitions across the board. Is there a better acquisition than Amari Cooper? And I know D-Hop.
Browns?
Yeah, I know D-Hop has made a big difference at kicker.
Plus they
Flacco signing late, but Amari Cooper, without him, where would we be?
It feels like a free agent move because they gave up almost nothing for him. I mean,
they fleeced the Cowboys.
I mean, you saw. Listen, he's not as good as A.J. Brown or Tyreek Hill. We understand.
No, but I'll take him.
But for those guys, you had to give up a ton. The gap between how good those players are is way smaller than the gap between what those teams gave up and what the Browns gave up.
No question.
I mean, you look at the defensive line. They went from that was the weakest part of their team to the strength in one season. They brought in Hurst. They brought in
5 or 6 guys.
Shelby Harris. They got Dalvin Tomlinson. They got Zadarius Smith. They got Ogbo Okoronkwo. They overhauled everything.
The defensive line is the second best unit on the team behind the secondary.
Now imagine if next year they do that at wide receiver. If they upgrade that position like they did this year, the defensive line.
This is a part.
You want to make sure that Deshaun Watson has success. You got to give them weapons.
When they come back, the funny part about it is it's a brand new team.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nothing's guaranteed.
Like I don't know. Like this is.
Are we getting into that next, Mike?
No, we're doing that tomorrow. We're doing that whole topic tomorrow.
Oh, sorry.
How often have you gotten a team to get in the playoffs They have a decent threat of winning the Super Bowl. And then you already know next year the team is completely different.
That's right.
At quarterback, receiver, offensive line.
Yeah. But
it's
not,
crazy, right?
It's not just that. It's that every year is a new year. And you could be good at something one year. Doesn't mean it's going to work for you the next year.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to say who it was, but I was listening to another member of the Cleveland media yesterday who said, I've heard the Texans are just happy to be there. Okay. That makes no sense.
Crazy.
No team, no matter how unlikely a playoff team you are, goes to the playoffs and the players are thinking, well, man, if we lose, it's all great. If we win, it's all gravy.
No.
You never know. Dan Marino went to the Super Bowl, right? His rookie year.
And never made it back.
And never went back.
Yep.
I don't care. You think the Bengals thought they weren't going to the playoffs this year?
Exactly.
You think when the season started with Aaron Rodgers, the Jets didn't think they were going to the playoffs? You don't think the Giants thought they were going to the playoffs? You don't think the Vikings thought they were going to the playoffs?
Well, look at the Eagles in the course of the second half of the season. They went from being the 1 seed to going to Tampa Bay for a playoff game.
Could they lose to Tampa Bay?
It's possible.
You know,
possible.
Yeah.
So nothing's guaranteed.
No.
And you know, I know there's some people that might think, well, and I know we were talking about more yesterday, so I'll just say it briefly, but like some people are thinking, wow, if the Browns are good this year, how good can they be with Watson and Chubb? You don't know things are going to, you know, the AFC might not be down. What if the Chiefs are better next year?
Exactly.
What if Mahomes and Burrow and all those guys are playing better next year? You never know.
Success is fleeting and year to year in the NFL.
There's no wait till next year when you have a chance to win that.
You're right. Do it now.
One more thing, we'll move on, but I saw on Twitter, this is before I got here, so you guys have to confirm this to me, but apparently Andrew Berry and the front office had Nico Collins circled as the guy they wanted.
I can believe that.
And then he got drafted 2 picks before they took Anthony Schwartz.
Oh, my God.
But apparently, and this is on Twitter, I don't know if this, I'm telling y'all what I saw on Twitter, but apparently the front office had identified Nico Collins.
Man, if that's true, that hurts.
The perfect fit for this offense. Could
you imagine him in this offense instead of?
It'd be unbelievable.
I mean, Anthony Schwartz is what? Working at State Farm now? Not doing commercials either.
Yeah,
selling.
That hurt when I read that one.
That's tough.
He actually is an assistant coach at Rutgers with Corey.
Now,
I wouldn't be surprised.
In fairness to both David Bell and Cedric Tillman, guys, in fairness to both of those guys, Nico Collins had done nothing before this year.
Nope.
I know. So it seems like C.J. Stroud is the key that unlocked him.
Yeah.
And that's what a good quarterback can do.
In his first 2 years in the league, combined. Now, it's better than David Bell, but his first 2 years in the league combined, he had 70 catches for 950 yards
that's
and 3 touchdowns.
significantly better than David Bell.
Yeah, I mean, that's not bad, but it's not like...
No, it's not, eye-popping.
No. He's averaged in his first 2 years 460 yards and 1.5 touchdowns. That's it's not great, but
well, I'm guessing his impact on the offense went up when Tank went out.
Yeah, but he got off to a good start. Then he got hurt for a little bit. He's also missed time. He missed 2 games as a rookie. He missed seven last year actually, and so actually
those numbers aren't bad then for a season and a half.
If he actually finished this season, it's crazy. More receptions, more yards, more touchdowns than Amari Cooper.
Yeah, he's got. I mean,
no kidding.
He got almost 1,300 yards, 1,297, and 8 touchdowns. He got a better quarterback, and he was a lot better player.
Yeah. That's why when I look at it, those guys work in lockstep. You can't have an elite receiver.
Yeah, it's complementary.
It's a complementary position because there's lots of guys.
Well, I don't agree with that, G. I mean, Josh Gordon had 1,700 yards with trash. I think. Nico Collins, to me, he's having a great year. I don't look at him as an elite receiver. I look at him as a really good receiver. You can
find outliers, Bull, but really, it's really hard for a great quarterback to continue to be great, see Kansas City, with a group of middling wide receivers. When you throw Tyreek Hill in there, and I know they won the Super Bowl last year without him, but the league has figured out how to stop that Kansas City offense now without wide receivers.
We'll see next year. I don't know. And I don't think they don't have no Rashee Rice.
Nobody impresses me for that.
He's better than anybody they had last year.
Yeah, Rice is a good receiver.
They're still all number 2 to Travis Kelce.
No, I hear you, but he got better the second half of the year. He was a rookie.
He did.
I'm just saying, the elite of the elites make guys better. And I think it's the same thing at wide receiver.
Hell, look at Lamar Jackson. They brought in 2 quality wide receivers for Lamar Jackson. Zay Flowers, them hitting on Flowers.
Yeah.
we're talking about Lamar Jackson as the MVP.
But
Where
also,
a couple of years ago, when he had no wide receivers but a good tight end, we're like, is this guy still worth it?
But he won an MVP 3 years ago.
I know,
with nobody.
But remember, 2 years ago he took a big step back.
A lot of that. Yes, the last 2 years he hasn't been as good.
But you give him a couple wide receivers, and boom, he's at an MVP level again.
I always say this. Listen, it doesn't do you any good. You don't get extra credit points for winning the MVP with bad receivers. That just means you play them
It all
tougher.
goes hand in hand.
Right.
But there are, like, the great receivers, even with mid quarterbacks, are going to put up pretty big numbers.
I agree that it's easier for a great quarterback to build to raise the play of a wide receiver than it is for a great wide receiver to raise the play of a quarterback.
Right. Because, like, when you get that matchup and you get it's a lot of personalities matching. You can throw anybody on the show, but do those personalities mesh? Do those personalities know how to play? Like, when you're a quarterback, you gotta. I always go to Devontae Adams and I won't say Brett Favre, but Aaron Rodgers. They had such a good chemistry. It was like you could have two guys on them. I'm throwing that ball to Devontae Adams.
Yeah, when you split them up, neither was as good without the other.
Yeah.
By the way, that Josh Gordon season has got to be the most incredible season by a wide receiver maybe in the history of football.
He did make a bad quarterback better.
I mean, well, it was multiple bad quarterbacks.
Yes, you're right.
I mean, and he only played 14 games, and he had, what did he have, 1,700, 1,600?
16. It's close to 17, yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yards per game, it's got to be one of the best seasons
Mike,
in the NFL.
Bring up his game. Bring up Josh Gordon real quick, his game log. Because I believe there was a stretch of like 5 games where he had like 900 yards in some crazy number.
Yeah, I remember that too. It was like near 1,000
I think he had
yards.
3 200-yard games in a row or close to it. I mean,
he was so dominant. What I did, like I watch Josh Gordon highlights every year. I just do it. I don't know why.
You want to remember what great wide receiver play looks like.
My wife is the biggest football fan in the world right now at this point. She used to love basketball. She's like, oh no, I love football, I love the Browns. And I just wanted to see how good to the naked novice eye. I put the highlights on. I was like, yeah, that guy used to play for the Browns. She was like, where did he go? Why is he not playing today? He's the best I've ever seen.
Yeah. The combination of his stupidity and the league rule stupidity
he was cold.
Destroyed his career. But, man.
He would catch slants bull and just run away.
It was absurd.
Yeah.
I remember in those years, we were doing our radio show from Browns camp. We were there every day. And just watching him, especially because the Browns had so little talent, that the guys that were good just stood out, and watching him around the other receivers that the Browns had, a bunch of nobody, Greg Little and all these yutzes, like this, it was crazy.
That's what makes it more impressive, Bull, because when an offense has one weapon, the defense just neutralizes
I know.
him. You just build your defensive game plan around bracketing him, doubling him, high safety help. How many times did he catch that slant and take it to the house?
It was crazy.
It was really like video game talent.
What was it, Mike? Go ahead.
So just in a 4-game stretch, I'll give you the rest of it in a sec, but in a 4-game stretch from weeks 10 to 13, so 4 games, he had 36 catches, 775 yards, and 5 touchdowns in a 4-game stretch.
700? That's almost 200 yards over a 4-game stretch.
His game log that season, remember he was suspended the first 2 games of the season.
He missed 2 games.
He went 146, 71, 86, 126, just 21.
Who held him to 21?
Green Bay.
I remember that game.
Man. 44, and then this 4-game stretch, 125, 237, 261, 151, 67, 97, 82.
I mean, he had 2
For
games
a grand
under
total
80
of
yards.
1,646 yards.
You know what's
and 9
incredible
touchdowns.
about that is he had about 6-7 games where he didn't even hit 100 yards.
Yeah. But most of them he had like 80 or 90. But
he only had 2 duds.
21 yeah, but how many games did he miss 100 receiving yards?
7, but he had 97, 1, 82, 86. So it was close.
Right.
And who were the quarterbacks? Give us the quarterbacks that year.
I have to give me a sec. That's gonna take a little.
Oh,
bit.
actually,
was that Whedon?
Brandon Whedon was the quarterback.
Jason Campbell.
Jason Campbell was the quarterback for a couple of those games.
Hoyer.
Brian Hoyer.
I've got
those
the
are
years
3.
kinda.
Brian Hoyer.
Campbell, Whedon, Hoyer. Campbell started
All 3,
8 games. Whedon 5. Hoyer 3.
Unbelievable.
All right, guys. Let's do a
Amazing.
quick ask of the fans real quick.